What's good, ladies and gents? Welcome back to MKO Boxing, aka MKO Pugilism, where we talk all things boxing. Remember to like and subscribe on YouTube, follow on TikTok, all that good stuff. So let's talk about it. So one of the topics of discussion this week has been the date clash between Ben Shalom and Frank Warren. Now, this has happened in times past with Eddie Hearn, I think, and Frank Warren. They've had similar dates. I think Ben Shalom and Eddie Hearn have also had date clashes, quite recently. And I, for one, I'm not a guy that enjoys it. I don't think it's a good thing when promoters clash, but again, it seems that specifically from what I understand, Ben Shalom just seems to be like not bothered really, um, because obviously you had the date for Fabio Wardley and Joseph Parker, or we should say Joseph Parker, Fabio Wardley. That date's been kind of set in stone for a little while now, whereas Jamie TKV versus Fraser Clark was set for, I believe, a different date last month, but it couldn't happen. Something like that. It was set for a previous date. So the Wardley and Parker fight has been sort of set for that date from before the TKV versus Fraser Clark fight. So yeah, it's a bit of an oddity. Frank Warren has come out on Talksport and said he thinks it's unfair competition, and that is primarily because Fraser Clark versus Jamie TKV for the British heavyweight title is going to be televised live on BBC Two, and he said the platform's massive, and yeah, that's definitely the truth. I mean, the BBC channels, BBC One, BBC Two, all this stuff. I was going to say ITV, but I mean iPlayer. These are platforms that we've all got. As long as you live in Britain, you live in the UK, the BBC channels are something we've all got access to. The iPlayer is something that we've all got access to. So, in terms of reach, in terms of potential numbers, I mean, this could be huge if a lot of people know about this fight. Then a lot the possibility of watching it, the ease of access to watch it. Anyone with a TV license, which is pretty much everybody in the UK, can watch it. So yeah, the platform wise, the BBC is in terms of reach, is bigger than the Zone, and I think why Frank Warren is obviously frustrated about it is he said they've got I think it's 4 dates or something thus far. Ben Shalom, he's got about 4 dates or so with the BBC, and he's like, of all the dates you could have picked, why couldn't you just pick a different one? Why did you have to pick this date when where we're going in? And yeah, I understand what he's saying. However, on the following day, I think this was yesterday, Duke McKenzie brought something to light about Frank Warren, which is that Frank Warren himself, when he was a young promoter, and you had the Mickey Duff and Esther and some of these like the cartel of British promoters, and they pretty much dominated everything. And Frank Warren was a young promoter trying to break through back in those days. When he was a young promoter trying to break through, Duke McKenzie pointed out that he remembers Frank Warren doing the same thing that Ben Shalom is doing right now to him, which is kind of when those big promoters are doing a show, he would put his show on the same day in a different venue. So Warren himself has been guilty of doing this in the past. But however, I suppose in these days with the influence of Turkey Al Sheikh, it's meant a lot. Pretty much every promoter working together, working on the same dates, clashing with each, in terms of putting fighters on the same cards and stuff. So there's been a bit more unison. So yeah, it's an interesting one. I think it's unfortunate, but I think it's one of those where probably the bigger, better fight is going to be Wardley versus Parker. But the problem that card is going to have which is I think why Frank Warren's not happy, is that the one of them, the one on BBC Two with TKV and Clark, is going to be free. You know, as long as you've got TV license, which is practically everyone, we're all going to be able to watch that fight for free. Whereas Frank Warren's card is going to be on the Zone pay per view, so you're going to have to pay £25 to watch Wardley versus Parker, and obviously from that perspective, I think the problem they could have is that yeah, Parker's quite a big name, Wardley's quite a decent name, but they're not massive names, and it's on pay per view. So people nowadays times are hard, and you know you think about money, you think about paying your bills, and people might just think, you know what, I'm not going to pay no 25 quid for a fight. I'll just watch the one that's for free. And boxing fans might even do that. They might just say, you know what, at the end of the day, I've got a choice here between something that's for free and something that I have to pay £25 for. And I suppose because they're both on the same day and you kind of got that choice, some fans might just opt for the free option because it's, you know, obviously, if nothing else, it's a heavyweight fight. It will be action and it's free. So, yeah, I think I do understand where Frank Warren's coming from, but at the end of the day, I suppose Ben Shalom's just being ruthless, and you know, he doesn't really care, and I suppose why should he? Why should he care? You know, he all he needs to worry about is his fighters and you know his cards, and I suppose yeah, it's gonna be a clash, and I think it if anyone's gonna get hurt by it, if either card's gonna get hurt, it's gonna be Frank Warren's card, and that's simply because it's pay per view. So, you know, those numbers, I don't think the numbers would have been all that high anyway, because you know Parker and Wardley, they're not the biggest names in boxing. They're not the biggest names in heavyweight. It's not like you've got a Fury, a Joshua, you know, even a Chisora, someone like that, where they've got big names. They do big numbers. They sell lots of tickets. I mean, I think Wardley does in his home crowd, but not on the scale of the big guys. So anyway, let me know your thoughts about this clash. And yeah, until next time, it's MKO Boxing, over and out.